and obviously the analytics play that out as the toughest league maybe of all time. So going to a 13-1 Minnesota team at home who has beaten Michigan, Ohio State, Iowa, all on their home court, and a team that has two of the better players in our league, and Marcus Carr and Liam Robbins, and a team that has got some experience. They're old. They're getting spectacular play from Jamal Mashburn Jr. Now he's come off back-to-back career highs. The insertion of Williams in the lineup has given them some athleticism and some tremendous energy. They're a team that plays extremely well at home. Brandon Johnson at the 4 spot has had a game where he went 8 for 9 from the 3 at home. So a team that obviously is very, very good in the barn. We're going to have to play very, very well to win. And they're a team that again is NCAA tournament team, and a team that again is capable of beating anybody in this league, as they've already proven.
Hey, Brad, good to see you. You guys are obviously getting a lot of national attention now, and there's a fun part of having a team that gets that, but also challenges of dealing with that. Are those both still there this year, given you're kind of in your bubble, or what's that dynamic like?
Well, I think it's different from the standpoint that our guys aren't out. Our guys don't maybe feel it from the student body. They don't feel it from the everyday campus vibe that they get. But obviously the media attention, the interviews, at the national level are up. I think when you've got two players who everybody knows is one name, Io and Kofi, and they know who you're talking about, that draws some attention. But again, I think we're enjoying the moment. I think our guys are loose. I think we're committed to trying to get better, and that's never changed.
Is that something you even have to address, is handling that, or is your team well equipped for it?
Yeah, not yet. I mean, I think that's one of the things that's pretty special about Illinois is you guys and our fan base are pretty on it all the time compared to 99% of most programs in the country. So, our guys have a pretty good grasp of what that attention's like.
Thanks, Brad.
Brad, you recently, you just talked about Minnesota being at home. They have 42 more wins over the last 4 seasons at home than on the road. Like you said, 13-1 at home, 0-8 on the road. Why is the barn so magical for them to play in?
I don't know. I'm going to ask Richard what it is. If he feeds them pregame, if he puts something in the water, I don't know. But they're comfortable there. Again, they play a little bit differently. Their electric can transition at home. You start looking at their points per game at home compared to on the road. And again, their shooting percentages. Obviously, they've got a tremendous comfort level with what they've done shooting wise. But it's funny. Some teams have those unbelievable tendencies, and they're a team that's one of those.
Is there another team that you've played in your coaching tenure that relates to winning at home that much, like maybe a Kansas or somebody like that?
Hell, Kansas won everywhere. When I was going against them, but I don't know. I think recent memory. I think you looked a little bit at Purdue last year with some of their discrepancies in the analytics and the numbers, but. Again, it's just I don't want to say it's unique. It's most teams do play better at home, but to have that wide discrepancy is maybe a little more unique than most cases.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Brad, over the course of the win streak, how do you look at, for lack of a better word, the pockets of inconsistent play? Do you see it more as hey, basketball is a game of runs and that's going to happen, or do you see it as something to be concerned about?
No, I'm not concerned. That's the challenge of getting better. Go pick any game you wanted to watch last night. Any game, I don't care. Go watch UCLA got off to a horrible start against Arizona. Go watch Ohio State was down 7 or 8 at one point to Penn State. It's basketball. And, when I talk about those inconsistencies, I talk about them because it's areas I want to continue to get better. I'm always trying to play the perfect game. Well, gosh darn, so is the other team, and they're good. It doesn't matter if you're playing Nebraska, if you're playing Penn State. I mean, Penn State's or Northwestern's an old team, and they're veterans, man. They're not; those guys aren't lying down. Chase Audige is a good player. So every game has them. It's part of basketball, and again, I'm striving for the perfect game, and I get frustrated when Io kicks one off his foot or throws a bad pass, and those things, and then you combine that with a couple missed free throws, and that's what drives me to continue to push these guys to get better.
And playing for each other, it seems something that DeMonte just mentioned. I remember you mentioning it a while ago about there was a period maybe when the team wasn't in that mindset. Has that changed, and how'd that happen?
Yeah, I don't think we've ever not been. I think it's just it's something that always has to be at the forefront. It can't be pushed down where it's not the most important thing. And great teams, it's always us. And we. It's never I and me. And I think that's we got a high character guys. We've got unbelievable locker room. And I think sometimes it's just a little realignment, a little tweak, just to make sure it's at the right forefront.
Thanks much.
Hey, Coach. Big Ten teams, I think, are combined like 122 and 42 this season at home. What kind of difficulties are maybe presented by going on the road this season without fans? Or I guess, is there an aspect of there not being a home crowd that makes it difficult on opposing teams?
Well, it's easier. I will say that it's not more challenging. There's no doubt. It's, you can talk about momentum swings, and you can talk about it's a less significant factor to turn a game around on the road than it is at home. There's tremendous. I mean, you shoot on rims, you play on courts, you the idiosyncrasies of being at home, the comfort of sleeping in your own bed, eating your same pregame meal at home. All those things play into it. So, but this year, it's changed the game day or the day before routine a little bit because of testing. But again, pretty minimal all in all. And I think it's I noticed the momentum swings in a game are easier to stop when you're, if you're on the road and you've got the barn full, man, it gets pretty hard because that place gets going. It gets hard to stop a run. You got to be pretty disciplined and pretty doggone good.
And then following up on the barn, I don't know if you'll have an answer to this, but since you've been in the Big Ten, have your players mentioned anything about maybe the backdrop or the race court that might make it difficult to go on the road there that's just different than other Big Ten arenas?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Hey, Brad, the past 2 seasons, you guys are 6-1 when playing a team the second time, coming off a win, and that's actually 6-0 with Io in the lineup. What do you think you guys do so well when seeing a team the second time?
Well, I give a lot of credit to our staff. I hope we're making the right adjustments. I think it's it's always a little more comforting as a player to have a first time. You know exactly what you're getting. You know what playing against Marcus Carr is, or what playing against player X is and what he does, and that's a little comforting. The first time you go out there, it takes you a little bit to get into a flow of a game. So, but I also think that you have a better idea how teams want to scheme you and what they try to do, and so you can prepare for those when you have them a second time.
And then speaking of Marcus Carr, you guys did a really good job against him in the first game. From watching that game, what did you see that you guys did well, and we're going to have to continue to do well to slow him down?
Well, we put him on the foul line a lot, and he's a really, really good player. He's one of those guys that you look up and all of a sudden he's got 16 to 20, and he's going to have those. And you've got to you got to make his touches hard. You got to make his shots hard. He scores it. He scores it as effectively going to the basket as he does from three. He's a clutch guy, performer. He makes a lot of big shots for them. So he's going to score something. We've just got to make his touches really hard, and then we can't give him gifts by putting him on the foul line and letting him, chip away at you by shooting free throws.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Brad. Word out of Minnesota is that Liam Robbins is battling an injury right now. Obviously, he's had a pretty good season, and I know you guys did a pretty good job on him at the game in Champaign. How important is he to that team, and what might be affected if he can't go tomorrow?
Well, I would fully expect him to play. He played 26 minutes in their last game, and obviously a very, very good player. If he's playing through any type of injury, he's got a certain amount of toughness in him. He's a stretch guy. He's a guy that made 2 threes here early. He does it in the paint. He's really effective on the defensive end, as he's one of the top shot blockers in our league. In terms of challenging shots and bothering you at the rim at 7 foot. He's a great rim runner. So, it's a team that relies on him as one of their top options. And, he's proven to be a very, very capable player and a very, very good player.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you've seen the news, but I would guess it would be a welcome bit of news for you that there's going to be some fans at the NCAA tournament. I know you're focused on winning a Big Ten title, but what is your reaction that Illini fans will be able to see you guys in the tournament for first time since 2013?
I'm happy for them. That's the first I've heard about it. I like I said, I don't listen to any of you guys, and I stay off social media. So if Derek doesn't tell me, I don't know much about it, but I'm happy for our fans because they deserve the opportunity to see this basketball team, and that's great for the NCAA. It's great for all of college basketball to have fans back if it's safe.
Thanks, Brad.
Brad, Kalsher is going to miss the game tomorrow, according to a report. He had some surgery. If Robbins is limited, how much changes in a game planning at this point, or do you guys just continue forward with what you had, no matter what they run out there?
Well, and I'll say this, Brad. I mean, in Kalsher's loss the other night, Jamal Mashburn Jr. stepped in and had a career high. They've made the move with Williams into the starting lineup. That puts Booth Goth coming off the bench, who's been a very, very good player for them and a very effective player. So they have depth. And like I said, I expect Liam to play at this point, and that he gutted it up through 26 minutes the other night, and I don't know what his injury is. But their guys step up, guys play, and they've got great depth. Richard's done a great job of recruiting, and he's got a freshman in Mashburn that stepped up and done a great job, as has Williams.
We've seen a lot of the quote unquote blue bloods struggle this year, which has been a little abnormal from what we all expect. Your team is more experienced, and while you do have some youth, do you think that experience is helping teams like yours, sustain through a season of so many uncertainties? And is that a possible reason you think maybe the blue bloods are a little down this year, bro?
Well, I've always thought, when you look at my teams at SFA, you look at my teams at Oklahoma State, you look at any team in the country. For the most part, when you get old, you look at the national champions. You look at North Carolina the year they won it. You look at Jay Wright's teams at Villanova. They're all old. There's tremendous advantage to being old and having experience and having a 21, 22, 20, 21, 22-year-old go against who's been in a weight program for 3 years, go against an 18-year-old who hasn't. Now you get exceptional talents, you get the Zions, and you get, certain one and dones. But, I think being older helps. I think having guys that have been in a system help. I think that it's a one-off year to think that Kentucky and the Dukes and those programs are going to stay down forever. That's not the case, but it does have a tremendous amount of help, in my opinion, to have older players and guys who've been in a system.
Thanks.
Hey, Brad, Kofi picked up his second fairly early, I guess, in the first half. the other night, and you're traditionally a guy who doesn't play a lot of guys with 2 fouls in that first half. And if you look through, Frank Martin, Bob Huggins, guys you kind of came up with have a similar 2 foul participation rate. Did you kind of learn that from them? Like, were there conversations with those guys about how to approach this, or is it just a matter of kind of who you've been around in your career?
No, I probably Jack Hartman, probably my high school coach. All have done it that way. I'm not glued to that, but there was had the game gone a little differently in the first half, and Georgie was terrific. And, had the game gone a little different, I trust Kofi. His first foul I didn't like. His second one was an offensive foul. But so I trust him in those situations. But it's not something that I'm glued to, but it is something I like. I like to have the freedom to play with a free mind in the second half, not have to worry about fouls.
I wanted to follow up on that. Like, do you look and say, okay, that foul could have gone either way, and that's maybe not Kofi or any player, I should say, playing out of control. It's just maybe a 50-50 call. I mean, do you kind of play into how these fouls were picked up if you were to look at, maybe getting a guy in there with 2 in the first half?
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I watch as much when I watch other games around the country and even within our league when I do watch them. I want to see how certain officials make calls and how games flow. That's one of the great challenges of postseason play in the NCAA tournament. You usually get officials you've never had. And, we've had these officials 10, 11, 12 times already, and some of these guys. And so they know our personnel. You get in postseason, they don't, and things are called differently. So you've got to make adjustments based on that.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Coach, as we kind of wind down towards senior day for a guy like DeMonte Williams, I was kind of reviewing some of my interviews with him. And when you first got the job, I interviewed him. He really knew nothing about you. And when he first talked to you, he was quickly on board and said, boy, I want to be a part of that program. Do you remember that first conversation with him? And he is a kid that jumped on board quick, isn't he?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I met with he and his mom in Peoria, and it was more about just getting to know me, understanding what my vision was for this program and how DeMonte fit in it. And I understood pretty quickly, even though he did not play his senior year, what his assets were, what his game was about. Not seeing him a lot, but yeah, it's been a great marriage for me. I hope it has been for him.
We like to call a Peoria style of basketball a toughness. Do you have an image of a Peoria kid? And it seems like Monte kind of fits that. I know you've seen a lot of great Peoria kids come through and recruit the area. Yeah,
and I think that there's no doubt it's kind of that, I've always said this, Peoria is one of the great cities in the country for high school basketball. And it's got an unbelievable history of that. And you dot the map when you look, there's Peoria, and then you start looking at all the players that have come out of there and the successes that they've had in college. And it goes back to really good high school programs, really good high school coaches, because you don't just go from high school in a town the size of Peoria and have success at the collegiate level at the rate they do. I mean, they've got unbelievable success, I would miss 100 players that have come out of that area. But for some reason, there's just something about that toughness, that mindset, the coaching that they've had that allows them to go be successful at the next level.
Thank you.
Brad, if Mashburn has replaced Kalsher offensively, can anybody fill in for him defensively?
Yeah, Williams is doing a nice job for him, Rob. He's a 6'4", 6'5" athlete. He's got great foot speed. I think he's maybe not as experienced as Gabe was on that end, but athletically he provides a different look. Mashburn is an unbelievable ball hawk. He's got great foot speed and quickness. They're a team that when you put he and Carr and Williams, they get really athletic at the 1, 2, and 3. And they can turn that pressure up. They're they're a team that gets into passing lanes. They'll deny some wings. They're getting 2 or 3 of those every single game, just because of their athleticism and their quickness.
Thank you.
Brad, I had one quick follow-up, if I could. You guys have several road games coming up and just one scheduled home game left. And I remember in the past when there were fans, the guys kind of talked about like an us against them and however many tens of thousands of screaming fans telling them they weren't going to win. Without them, what's the, I don't know if rallying cry, but beyond winning, what's that kind of that push without having that hostility there?
We've got a lot of things, but you're not going to know them.
Figured I'd try. Thank you.
I have one more quick follow-up as well, Brad. Michigan got a win last night. They're half game ahead of you and Ohio State. Is there any, you get Ohio State one more time, at least scheduled wise. Is there any more pressure now to schedule that Michigan game now that they are back in it, continue to win, and you guys are trailing them?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I found out very quickly is I have no control over anything that relates to scheduling. So again, we've got what's in front of us. I'm not looking any further than that. I think the one thing that I will say is I have a very singular goal at this point, and that's to be safe and healthy through all of this and get to the NCAA tournament and get there as healthy as we can. And I believe in this team, and I think this team's capable of doing great things. And safety and health are at the forefront of all that.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Brad, just to follow up, have you had any conversations with Michigan? Are you optimistic that game will get made up?
I have had none. And those Jeremy, those go, probably up the flagpole a little bit. I don't know what those are. There's a lot of talk amongst the coaches about different things, but we're not, Juwan and I aren't just going to get on the phone and say, hey, we're going to play on Wednesday. And it's TV. It's, I think we're all looking at potentially fighting an unbalanced schedule in terms of teams not getting through and not getting 20 in. So like I said, there's a lot of factors that go into that. So that really don't have much to do with what we're doing as coaches right now in terms of having a say.
Sure. Thanks, Brad.